Part of the problem that we have in this country is a lack of activism, a lack of organizing, a lack of vision that details what needs to happen to resist some of these attacks against our standard of living. And what we find in welfare rights is that people are confused about who is the enemy. And we hear this all the time. White people are the enemy. Black people are the enemy. Latinos are the enemy. Arabs are the enemy. Gay people are the enemy. It's a line, a list of individuals and groupings and populations that are pointed out. And none of those groups of people represent the enemy, none of them. The enemy is a corporate, greedy monster who comes in multiple colors and does not have a problem with withholding water or withholding food or destroying education or destroying affordable housing for any color. So this issue about know who your enemy is, it is so critical. And because we don't have clarity on that issue, you've got people that fight in a silo. And all these silos are fighting. They're in the field all the time doing battle. And if we could just figure out how to get the silo walls to drop, imagine what our power could be if we fought for the best that is possible for low and moderate income individuals and families, regardless of what they look like, how tall they are, who they love. We should love each other. And we can't get there yet because folks don't recognize who is the enemy.
One of the things our membership have to learn, even, and this is a tough struggle. Not who the enemy is and what are they based on, but at the same time, it is not the welfare worker. Now, sometimes I want to go in there and whoop their ass, because they should know better. But they have to be trained also. And so over the years, welfare rights has been very good on being able to organize not only our base, and that being low-income people. We be working, unemployed, what have you, But to be able to pull in a lot of the workers at the welfare department. Some of them might come up, some of them will say, I'm coming over here and work with you guys when I retire. And they do. Even police officers, come over and work with us, and we find out, that they are listening. But it's not an easy thing. You got to be, it's like knitting, knit one, purl two, and you got to stay on that until, they begin to understand what's going on. You ought to be in our office sometime. And in our office, somebody might say, oh, it's welfare right. I say, what in the hell are you talking about? That's our base. But that's what they have been taught to say, like Maureen was talking about last night, because they think the enemy is the client coming in there. That is not the enemy, and it's they don't love you right off when they see you coming in and what have you. But we have had a lot of workers always sending their clients over to welfare rights because they'll tell them, say, I know exactly, although policy says we can't do that, you go to this number, go to this address, or something like that. And it's the whole question of how do you build your troops? It's not your troops, build the organizational apparatus to be able to lead towards a better world, when it and that this whole water structure, I know I've been on a lot of different campaigns, but this water structure, I remember Maurice said, I thought we'd be through with this by now, because we started doing it back in 2009, whatever.
14.
No, it was way back then, further than that. Before we got in, that's what's one of the basis, that we ended up putting together, one of the programs. But it had to be consistent all the time in their faces. And in their faces was city council. They didn't even know that the water department wasn't telling them about the crisis in Detroit. And Marian Mahathy, who was one of our best city council people, and she said, please get this water affordability plan passed before I die. Excuse me, she passed away. But on the other hand, she had laid some big footprints into helping to try to do this. And they tried to stop it. But eventually, it was passed. But then it was the mayor at the time and his staff, quite naturally, they were throwing little bricks into the situation to try to stop that from passing it. And here we are. How many years later?
15.
And where we started the water, presenting the water affordability plan was Detroit and Highland Park. And we still fighting for that to happen. They won't listen to the point that you put the water affordability plan out there and begin to operate based on that. Not only will the people flourish from that, but at the same time, there's a formula that even brings in some cash from that, you know. So, you know, you like being in the hole, you know, hole in the sense if you're in the army or something like that. And every step of the way is a learning lesson. And don't sit back and say, like we hear sometimes, well, we be on a TV program and we have a TV program. We say, look, don't let us tell you that you're a leader. Get out there and begin to build, even in your own community. You let somebody come after my family as far as my family being welfare rights, you know, and all that. We might end up with calling people off their jobs. I know I'd have called a lot of time the UAW. She used to call me all the time when she was out there. Come on, I'll meet you at the welfare rights. I say, yeah, I'll be there. She might not be able to get that quicker as I came. I'll never forget that. I've never forgotten this. I get to the welfare office and I said, where's Maureen? She coming from way across town. And I remember the supervisor hated my guts. Had called the police on me, talking about I didn't have the right to do this. And had thrown me in the police car. And we got to the, you know, it took me in. And it was a while before I got out. But she was wrong. And from that, we tried to teach her a lesson, and the rest of them a lesson. We have the rights to come into the welfare office representing our membership, you know, or some person that we have not even become the member, you know, once we determine where we're going with the case. But you can learn that. And I tell you right now that the people that are generally out here in welfare rights a lot of time are women. Their children come in there and they're happy when they come in. And I'm saying this to say too one thing, and you can say we said it, and that is if the Department of Health and Human Services is coming after a family because they don't have water, and they'll sneak up on you, we have snatched that family and saved those kids. And have then stay, you know, negotiate with them. Look, no, they're not leaving here. You know, oh, I don't know where they are, you know, until we get that case together. Because why should they always attack poor people? Have them, it's my old woe is me. They have people believing that, I shouldn't have done that, Maureen. I shouldn't have done that. And my worker said, and we always say, what about your worker? If your worker had known what the process and understood what you got to go through and everything like that, as far as the building up of poverty and that type of stuff, she would have joined or he would have joined the fight also. And we do end up recruiting quite a bit of them. They could be in the friends of WRO and what have you. So don't be afraid to take a stand, and you're going to feel good once you take that stand. And don't be afraid to help build other leaders, because we cannot do it alone.
Workers, organizers, uh, we don't have a choice anymore.
No.
And what has to happen now, there are objective factors to why things happen. The General Motors strike just ended just a few weeks ago. And at one time in the mid to end 70s, there were between 500 and 600,000 General Motors workers spread out in plants across the country. This strike gave us the number 46,000 General Motors hourly employees spread around the country. So we've gone from 600,000 to 400 or to 46,000. 1 out of 11 workers are left. The other 10 are 11 outsourced, they died, they retired. But really what happened is that the technology that used to enhance labor now is the technology that replaces labor. And once you get to that realization that you used to have 3,000 people at a glass plant, and now you got 3 people, the assembly line goes down, that person presses a number in the computer, and the machine starts to press out Chrysler windshields. And you make 1,000 of them. Then here comes the next one, and it presses out 2,000 General Motors windshields, and press in another number, and three or 4,000 Ford cars that need windshields or the different kind of windows that they require. And so the 3,000 that used to do this job is now 3. And you can't change that. We're not going to go back to 3,000 workers. Now, what we try to do in welfare rights, and certainly talk to folks in the Poor People's Campaign about this all the time. There are objective factors. If you go in that mine with those fumes, you're going to die. And it's just objective facts. If you step out on Fifth Avenue in front of a bus and the bus runs over you, you're going to die. So we give this same analysis. We've gone from these many to these many, and they're not going to reverse that trend. So that's why you can't have water. That's why you can't have education. That's why you can't get health care. All of these things, because that 10 out of 11, why should we take care of them? Because they're just useless. We need war. We need this, we need that to get rid of large numbers of people quickly. So my advice to millennials and younger millennials and older millennials, what you better start doing is realizing that there is a objective foundation that says you better get active, you better organize, you better do something, because the roads that need to be repaired and infrastructures that need to be fixed, they're not going to do it. They're not going to do it. And so if you want to risk yourself, your children, your grandparents, your community, just keep staying at home watching the soap operas and watching Hollywood Wives and all them other kind of things, and watch the world slowly but surely strangle you until you can't breathe. You have to do something because the world depends on it. That would be my advice.
I have 7 girls and 1 boy, right? And I just knew, oh, they're going to join the movement because they live the movement. Her son, too, he was they grew up in the movement, and they all went off to try to do some other kind of job, but they still supported welfare rights and that type of stuff. Now, you didn't realize, I think that we were somewhere after my husband died, and they were asking them about their daddy, and they said, you know, we would be sitting under the table, and they didn't know it, listening to them in those meetings. We had to go to meetings. We had to, and they put us in one of those playrooms and what have you, and we listened, and we played, acted out what they were doing. And I didn't know that I'm gonna still have this education that I obtained under the table or in another room being nosy and that type of stuff. I didn't realize that they were being, her son would come over. He said, hey, T, boom, go straight up the stairs looking for my daughters to be with them. All of them, they got an education that we didn't know. Now they use those same tools in the various arenas that they are working in. And I really appreciate that. As we move to get an education, we have to open up the door to make sure that they get one also. Education to be able to not have to face the possibility that I'm going to be homeless. Not have to, that we have public education, that type of stuff, or, that you don't have to try to figure out where the food is going to come from, or am I going to be able to make it through, they have us all geeked up about Christmas and stuff, all that type of stuff. Propaganda from the daring capitalists to keep them where they are is used. You got to understand that you got to study and begin to understand what that is the enemy. That person that have people living on Wall Street for them. Then they are not, they're gonna probably give your family a turkey. We get a lot of calls for turkeys, don't we? Turkey. And for Easter, they probably going to give you some extra eggs or something like that, thinking that they are your heroes. No, a hero to me is a person. It was my mother. It's people that I hang out with all the time. These are these sheroes that are out here, and that's what I'm saying to young folks. It's time for you to step up.
That's right.
And understand that all of us have to work together. I might have something, and then I'll learn from you too, and you learn from me, and that you should not have to fall into the same traps that we have fallen in. All this stuff is new to all of us. And we're going to, just like Mo was saying earlier, we got to learn how to work with each other. And sometimes I be wanting to be sitting down with some of these members and stuff like that of other organizations, and I see how their brain has been molded just like they did with us. When it came down to this water, we didn't realize that we had got surrounded by folks that really wanted to get a 501c3 and get money based off of what they had learned from welfare rights and stuff. I don't have no problem on training folks, but I want you to take that same training and work with this whole poverty stuff. Our goal has been in welfare rights since its beginning to eliminate poverty. And the only time you hear that from either the Democrats or the Republicans or something like that, or some organization that might come in there in contact with it, is around elections time. They better understand what election is all about. Yeah, I want to get rid of Trump and a lot of the rest of them there, because they don't represent our interests. But at the same time, we got to be about teaching. And I don't care who you are, if you're going to join this fight. We got to teach you, and you got to teach us, because I'm not talking about pulling you away from your community to be taught. I'm talking about getting together and we began to learn together. And, then you got the opportunity to teach more. We need an army that can work work on their feet. I'll tell you, and I'll be through. When it was time for us, we made a decision to help the homeless get a union years ago. And one thing, and I know one of our members who's passed away, she said, "Well, what do you think?" I say, "I guess we have to. Let's move and do it." Because it was other people that helped us to build welfare rights, that had never been on welfare before in their lives. That was not the basis for you becoming, right? It was the elimination of poverty. If you want to learn, come knock on the door. And we might not be the ones to greet you, but you're going to greet yourself and understand that I'm here not only to learn, I'm here to teach also and organize as to who has to lead this fight. And it has to be based on the least of us.